Shalom Israel. Before I start, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Wahara HaKadash, double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel, the ruling teacher, the Akims, the Iris and Byers, and those pushing videos in truth, sincerity, the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now, there's this article there. It says, is there any proof of what Jesus actually looked like? And this is meant to be written by some kind of a historian, yeah? But when we go for it, you see that it's hard for Esau to tell the truth, because if you tell the truth of what Yahawashi actually looked like, what the Bible describes him as, and what is portrayed today, with the images that's given today, is like this here, of a Caucasian man, straight hair, etc. But then if he doesn't look like that, and this is the features of those who are in the land today claiming to be his people. So if he doesn't look like that, then you have to ask yourself, then how can these people claim to be the people of the book when you don't look anything like the man of the book? Now, it says here, is there any proof of what Jesus actually looked like? It says the popular belief that Jesus was a white guy with facial hair dressed in a white or cream robe is common amongst most people today. And that's because they've been pushing that lie throughout the earth. Our people were forced to accept this image, through slavery. If you didn't accept the image, you'd be put to death with the doctrine that came with it. We think this because all of us have seen paintings characterizing, depicting him like this. But is this true? Joan Taylor, who is a historian and holds a professorship at King's College, has announced that she's in possession of proof that this is most definitely not what the King of Kings looked like. So this is quite long, so I'm not going to read all of it. Actually, what I do, I'll put the link in the description so you can go through it yourself. But throughout it, he takes her time to come to any real conclusion and makes some false statements, but I'm just going to go through some of them. It says, why do painters throughout history depict him like this? Jesus did not look like this during his lifetime. So, and the thing is, if he didn't look like this, then his people don't look like this. If Jesus did not look like this during his lifetime, why have the majority of painters adopted this look for him? As it turns out, the painters centuries ago made their living painting many different gods, and as time went on and the Messiah became the most well-known of them, his painters attribute the same visage to him. Now, that's not why, reason why he's depicted the way he is today is to deceive. That's the whole point of the devil, to deceive. It says, out of place accessories. Today, historical experts have also taken note of the fact that many of the accessories he wore, as well as the items he's painted with, are not appropriate for the time. Think of paintings of Jesus with a halo above his head, or longing on a heavily embossed rolled chair. None of these additions to the painting make sense. The investigation concluded by John Taylor have revealed that Jesus would in all likelihood have been a modest man with simple tastes. So, where is it? It says, this is a bit now. What is written in the good book, meaning about the Bible? There are always religious debates where opposing debaters argue furiously about is and is not in the Bible to prove their points. What it boils down to, as regards the good shepherd's appearance, is that the Bible often mentions what he looked like. The hints left for us as written mention that he was a nondescript man who did not stand out in a crowd. He pretty much looked like everyone else. So this is what this so-called historian refers to as the hints that's given in the Bible as to what Christ looks like. And this is why I said, she's a deceiver, because the Bible actually gives you a physical description, air texture, skin color, you know, and for them to just boil it down to nondescript man who did not stand out in a crowd. He pretty much looked like everyone else. Like who? Now, there's another bit I want to jump down to. Image set in stone. Says the idea of Jesus as a bearded Caucasian was universally accepted by the Middle Ages, and that's because it was forced upon people. So you had no choice but to accept that image. The depiction of him as a good shepherd fell by the wayside, and the more recently accepted robe, a long-haired and bearded version, has remained as the most popular version since then. And you know, she's not even making any reference to how these images were forced upon people, you know, through slavery, through, you know, them taking down other nations. And if they did not worship or accept the image or the doctrine that came with it, people be put to death. Let me see. And it says, historian John Taylor points out that Yahawashi would not have been likely to have ever sat on a throne and ever, even though this was a popular way to depict him, is not all factual. What it does do, however, is illustrate the esteem in which he is held amongst his followers. And we have to be surprised that all this foolishness is coming from someone that's meant to be a historian. Esau, even to this day, is finding it difficult to tell the truth of the scriptures, you know, to be truthful. But that's the whole point of being a deceiver, you know, being a devil. The devil means deceiver. In studying these artworks, it becomes obvious to historians that certain aspects of the original works have been altered to fit an evangelical evangelical theme. Aspects of paintings and other artworks have been altered. Yeah, because we know through the Renaissance period, that's what Esau did. You know, went out throughout the world altering the images and paint them in his own likeness. For example, a sword is repainted as a Bible, and that's not the repainting that's normally done. It's like black images were repainted white. When you look at the Renaissance period, this is what Esau was doing. Says a central figure is repainted to be seen to be offering absolution to others, and so on. Here's another bit I want. Setting a look. Give me a second. Getting into the stupid Turin shroud, you know, which does not depict Yahawashi at all. Still gives you that false image of a Caucasian looking man. So what did he really look like? Instead of relying on the medieval paintings, Joan and her colleagues studied other ancient relics such as old papyrus scrolls from Egypt and even the remains found in burial sites to convey exactly how a person living in the same time would have looked. This would be the best way to determine how Yahawashi looked at the time he was alive. And even saying all this, they're still giving you that fake image. What did he wear? There's another bit. The color is off. So Yahawashi would have worn the same as any other man of modest means, a knee-length tunic, but it would have been white as his robes are usually depicted in artworks. In the time we are investigating, there was no method of whitening fabric. Most of the tunics worn were made from plain wool. In fact, the Bible says that his clothes only became white and shining when he transformed into a celestial being. And these are coming from people that's not actually reading the Bible anyway. There's something else I wanted to show. Outward visage. At the end of the day, all of us would love to know exactly how he looked, to be able to gaze upon his face and know we were seeing an accurate likeness. The mummified remains found in Yahawashi's homeland had both Grecian and Egyptian facial attributes. So they're still trying to put their own spin on it, you know, using the term Grecian. But then we have to remember these Grecians at the time when we read the scriptures were Israelites, but they're trying to give you, you know, when they're saying Grecian, more of a European um, aspects. The answer, ironically, it is artwork, specifically painting, that leads us to a final determination of the Redeemer's facial features. The painting on the Egyptian mummies shows the facial features of the deceased, and these are the people who lived and died at the same time as a Mashiach. This painting is considered the most accurate comparison. So this don't look anything like a Caucasian man. And if this is the best piece of evidence, how then do you explain those in the land today? Says the best piece of evidence. There's another way that we can best determine what he looked like by examining another piece of conserved evidence that can be found in a very ancient synagogue. The item that could finally prove what he looked like is found preserved in this magnificent place of worship. Blah, 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 blah. Really and truly, it says different hairstyle. It may jump out at you immediately. Moses appears to have shorter locks and is clean shaven. Like Moses wouldn't be clean shaven. This is how you know that these people are proper deceivers. Yeah, the law says that you shouldn't be clean shaven. When you read Leviticus 19:27, Leviticus 21:5, this fact does tie up with historical facts of the day. However, when this portrait was commissioned, having long flowing locks were only attributed to the feminine or divine. You see, and they're still giving you those false images. So they've not really told the truth, asked a question, and still brought out lies in the process. So, what did he actually look like? You know, the Bible does actually tell us. This is Revelation 1:1. It says, the revelation of Yahawashi Mashiach, which the Most High gave unto him, gave unto John. And revelation is meaning the revealing, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. Jump down to verse 11. Saying, I am Alpha and Omega. So this is Yahawashi speaking, the first and the last, and what thou seest write in a book. So Yahawashi told John to write what he saw in a book. And the reason, one of the reasons why, because we know that today you'll have deceivers going around trying to portray themselves as Yahawashi. This is why he said in Matthew 24 that we should be careful that no one deceives us. There'll be many. Let me quickly grab that. All these things are written for a reason. Matthew 24 and verse 4. And Yahawashi answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am a Mashiach, and shall deceive many. And you can see that many people have been deceived by this image coming in his name, saying that I am Christ. And now you got people in the homeland claiming to be his descendants. And this image helps to continue that lie, because those in the homeland look similar to this guy here, when we know that the Bible don't describe him anything like this. So it says, saying, Revelation 1:11, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write in a book. Yeah, so John was told to write what he saw in a book. So let's see what he saw. Verse 13, and in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs, meaning the hair on his head and the hair on his face, were white like wool. Yeah, they were white in color and woolly in texture, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. So this image here does not give you woolly texture hair. This gives you doggy, stringy hair. Yeah, and it says, where am I? and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Now, when you read Genesis 49 and 12, Moses prophesied that his eyes would be red with wine, because Yahawashi drank wine. His first miracle was turning water into wine. They even tried to refer to him as a wine bibbler and a glutton. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with drinking alcohol, but you must drink in moderation. You don't drink to get drunk. It says, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. Yeah, so his feet would be the same color as the rest of his body. It says his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. So he had a powerful voice. But what does burnt brass look like? Yeah, this is burnt brass. This is the color that Christ would look like, Yahawashi would look like. Nothing like the pictures depicted. And this is why she came out with a bag of baloney, acting like, well, we don't really know, you look like everybody else, nondescript. No. And for years, our people have been fooled, you know. And when it's brought out, what you normally hear people say, well, what does this color really matter anyway? Well, everything in the Bible matters. And if his color, if there's no relevance to his color, then why has it been hidden? You know, like if you look at this image here, a good example. Yeah, burnt brass, not burnt brass. Now, they brought another scripture here which I'm going to go to because it's not just in the New Testament, it's also in the Old Testament. This is Daniel chapter 10, verse 5. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. So like here. His body also was like the beryl, meaning he had on a green garment, and his face as the appearance of lightning. Yeah, going back to wisdom. And his eyes as lamps of fire. Yeah, that's what we read in Revelation. And his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. Polished brass is what's known as burnt brass. Yeah. And the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. He had a strong, powerful voice, not like this little wimpiness that we will see this Jesus portrayed as. Now, this is First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 48. Says, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. And this is what's happened. This is why we get Yahawashi looking like this today, because the heathen, these other nations, have opened our records, seen our records. Because I fail to believe that, you know, in this day and age, these so-called scholars have not read Revelation chapter 1 or Daniel's chapter 10 to realize what Yahawashi looks like. So it says they've opened the book of the law and sought to paint the likeness of their images. This is why you see the angels being white when the Bible don't describe them as that. That's why you see the people of the book being white when the Bible don't describe them as that. Quickly show one. Job 30. Job chapter 30. Verse 30 says, my skin is black upon me, my bones are burned with heat. Yeah, my skin is black upon me. You can't get a Caucasian looking man out of that. Lamentations chapter 5. Oh, what's happened there? It's like Lamentations chapter 5 and 10. Says, our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. Now, if you look at images of the Jewish people when they were in the concentration camps, you see that, you know, there's images of them really famished. None of them was ever looking black. So it's not because of the famine why their skin was black. Yeah, their skin got darker due to the famine. So these were a dark race of people to begin with. Where's that? This is Lamentations 4 and 8. It says their visage, yeah, visage is dealing with your face, is blacker than a coal. And you don't get any coal looking like this. And the descriptions in the Bible, they're showing you what the people of the book look like. So I can find that. Yeah. You know that Paul was an Israelite. This is Acts 21, and I'll start at 37. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art not thou that Egyptian? Yeah, so Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. And we know that Paul, when you read Romans 11 and 1, he was from the tribe of Benjamin. So the Bible gives you the color of Christ, the description of Christ, and a description of his people, which is consistent with that of the color of Christ. Yeah, so there is proof as to what Yahawashi looks like. You know, and it's also in the Bible, but you know, the devil is there to deceive. We'll bring out one more precept. This is Job chapter 9 and verse 24. It says, The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So the scriptures let us know that those that are ruling today are the wicked. But what do these wicked do? He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And who's the judges? The Israelites are the judges, and that main judge being Yahawashi. And how do they cover the faces? By painting the likeness of their own images. So to answer this question, is there any proof of what Yahawashi actually looked like? There's ample proof in the scriptures. So with that, we're going to close out. Give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Baharakah Kadash, Kwam Yasha Allah.